The pandemic is not over, according to the WHO. But South Korea took a step closer to a full return to life by lifting the indoor mask mandate starting Monday. Our Kim Jong-si, who has been following the story since day one, is here in the studio with us. Welcome, Jong-si.
Thanks for having me, Dami.
All right. As I've just mentioned, you've been following on the indoor mask mandate lifting. Now, walk us through the past week.
Of course, Dami. Well, on the first day on Monday, I went to a high school in Gangnam that was restarting again after winter break. And because it was very cold and being only the first day, the majority of the students, almost 90% in fact, were wearing masks when they arrived. And after chatting a bit inside the classrooms without the mask, some of the students all of the students actually put them back on when the class began.
I'm sure the scenes were quite refreshing to look at, right? And also, then what did they have to say about wearing the masks when inside?
Well, the students that I talked to told me that they are in their second year, and for the entire duration of their high school years, they had to put the mask on. So they actually don't mind using it because they are so used to it. And they're also the part of the group that took classes online and had no field trips of any kind for the last few years.
After visiting the high school, you also went to a subway station. How was the scene over there?
Right. I went to Sarang Station, line number 4, and as you may know, it is one of the busiest stations during rush hour here in Seoul, and almost everyone was wearing masks on the platform and on the subway train itself because wearing one is still required on public transport.
Right. I do understand the hassle because putting it on and off can be quite hectic, right?
Absolutely.
Then can you tell us about how people have adapted to the new change during the rest of the week?
Well, Tammy, I want to say that I talked to lots of different people working at different types of businesses, department stores, banks, and movie theaters. They all told me that there's definitely an increase in the number of people showing up without masks on, but the number is still very small compared to people who have them on. The majority of the people I found this week on the streets, in stores, in stores or even outside still had their masks on.
Right. I myself have felt like I have to keep the mask on. Now, let's talk more about that. There was an article from New York Times this past week that there are some of the reasons why Koreans are not taking their masks off. And I have this interview here from Kim Sang-min. He's a scholar based here in Seoul, who said masks have relieved many South Koreans of the societal pressure to maintain a level of facial beauty. Now, this has been picked up some local media outlets here in the country. What did you think of what he said?
Right, Dami. Well, obviously, I haven't talked to the scholar myself, so I don't know the full extent of the context or what research his comments were based on. But there's definitely some gap between what he said and many of the opinions I heard throughout the week. Take a listen to this nice couple I met at the theater.
The pandemic isn't completely over, so I still wear them in certain places. It's still questionable whether or not wearing masks is okay at this point. I know people in South Korea waited for this day to come, but COVID-19 is still out there, so I have my worries.
I went to the gym without my mask on, but everyone else had their masks on, so I felt as if I was naked.
I see. Then, according to your findings throughout the week, what are some of the other reasons as to why South Koreans are keeping their masks on?
Right. People gave me 3 main reasons. First, there's still some underlying anxiety about COVID-19, and masks can help prevent not just COVID, but also other airborne viruses in the winter. Second, the fact that the government is still recommending their use. Third, because it's just not that uncomfortable anymore. Take a listen to what some students from Indonesia I met in Gangnam had to say.
Actually, I feel kind of another new normal because we have been using masks for like 2 years plus. So now that we are okay to not wearing it, we still have to like get used with it. So
I think that because I used to use it, so and it's comfortable to use the mask in the public area, especially we still have like some case of corona right now.
And as the New York Times also pointed out, the fine dust problem in South Korea cannot go unnoticed. From 2020, the fine dust level in the country kept hitting new unwanted records, so people started to wear masks to protect themselves from that. There were also issues with SARS in 2002 and MERS in 2015 and other respiratory viruses in South Korea that made people more aware of the importance of mask wearing.
I see. I am one of those people keeping multiple masks in our handbags, just in case when it gets too dusty out. And now moving on to some professionals, what are medical experts saying about this lifting?
Well, Tami, Professor Kim Woo-ju, one of South Korea's renowned medical experts in infectious diseases, said this. Take a listen.
I think this sort of discussion regarding indoor masks being mandatory or eased to being recommended, all this talk is making people very tired at this point. The health authorities should leave it to the people voluntarily and instead focus on getting the vaccination rate to increase and improve the indoor ventilation system. The government should encourage people to make wise decisions by themselves by communicating actively and remind people that washing their hands and wearing masks are still acceptable measures to prevent COVID-19.
So there we have it. Even as the mandate has been lifted, it's still important for us to take personal quarantine measures.
Right. No mask or mandatory mask. It's good to stay healthy, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for your thorough report and also giving us a lot to think about.
My pleasure, Tami.